Oh, hello, and welcome to Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. Tonight we have, after 5 long years, Super Mario 128. So,
You demanded it.
Let me take you a step back, guys.
I don't even know.
On this day, or maybe it was the day before or after this day, of this month, 5 years ago, me and Dr. Leviathan did Super Mario 64, a creepypasta. Or at least a creepypasta of Super Mario 64.
Was it just called Super Mario 64?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, this story has nothing to do with that story. Like, it's not a sequel or anything like that. But I thought it would be fun to see if there was any creepypastas on the Super Mario 128, which was a thing that in the gaming community during the drought of Super Mario games.
Yeah.
Like if you wiki up Super Mario 128, you'll find a bunch of information about like the tech demos and like game like previews and stuff that were coming out between like basically Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine, and how like that demo basically evolved into Super Mario Sunshine and Luigi's Mansion for the GameCube. But yeah, so we found a creepypasta that is of the that somebody decided to take ideas from the Super Mario 128 and make it into a lost video game creepypasta. That person being K.I. Simpson on creepypasta.wiki. And how about Gamer in Yellow do the honors of doing the rundown? Hey, buddy.
Hi, how's it going?
Yeah.
I'm sufficiently, I guess, prepared.
Call it the rundown, gamer. Otherwise, I have to.
Oh, you poor thing. It's fine. I'm only partially in a food coma from that giant waffle, so it's okay.
That's fair.
I'll probably get through this. So there's just immediately pass out. All right, so the story begins saying there's a ton of Mario games out there. There was a dry spell of Mario platformers between 1997 and 2005, only having Mario Sunshine being released, and this is why. Modern games are getting more realistic and violent. PlayStation was winning the console wars, and N64 and GameCube weren't doing too well. So Nintendo tried making a more realistic and violent Mario game to fit with the times, essentially. They were saying that they wanted Mario and Luigi to act more like adults, which may or may not be an actual quote from Shigeru Miyamoto.
I could see it. Like, again, dealing with like that dark time of like Nintendo's profits and stuff like that.
Yeah, this was the game essentially that was scrapped after years of development, and it, as you said, became Luigi's Mansion and Mario Sunshine.
Yeah.
Nairdeman, our favorite character.
Oh yeah, Nair. Who can forget Nair?
Yeah. You get a copy of an unfinished Mario 128, and this is essentially how it goes. Start up, black screen, white text saying Mario 28, I guess, right?
Yeah, basically.
And on starting, a text box comes up from Bowser basically saying, I'm paraphrasing here.
Yeah.
I took Peach, she'll die tomorrow, kill herself or she dies, don't try to stop me. Which is essentially what he says. So Mario, when it loads up, Mario is using like the Mario Sunshine style body, but with a Mario 64 head, and all of his proportions are slightly more realistic.
So it's kind of like the... Oh god, it's like the Dragon Ball Evolution video game, where they took like photo caps of like the characters from from that horrible live action movie and made them into a video game. But it's like the Super Mario Brothers movie.
In a way, I guess.
A little bit, yeah.
It's literally just Mario slightly proportioned differently, so he's not as cartoony.
Yeah.
But yeah. First level's a sky level. It has like surprisingly realistic clouds and easy platforming. There's no enemies or nothing. He ends up finding Toad, who tells Mario to kill himself.
Because we hate you.
Yeah. Does he actually say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want you anymore, Mario. Just go die. Go die.
And then Mario does that. He just walks off the cloud.
Yeah, the player loses control.
Yes, because you don't have control anymore. And he falls for a while, showing a realistic city underneath him. And he hits the ground of a busy street, but no one reacts. They just keep walking past him. After a couple of minutes, he gets up, and you get control again. But Mario walks real slow this time. I forgot to mention before, actually, when Mario's jump sucks now.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any special jumps or nothing. Like when he's up in the cloud stage, they were trying to make it realistic. You can only jump a couple of feet.
Yeah.
But you can't go any of the buildings along the street except for this one house that looks a little different. And on entering, it's called the House of Torn Memories. The house is bigger than you'd expect on the inside. A little TARDIS-y, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, it's for a video game level.
Yeah.
It's obviously just that's the representation of it on the overworld, and then you go in and it's much bigger.
Yeah.
Because it's a separate level.
Mm-hmm. But it's bigger in the fact that, Mario seems like he's the size of a small child in this area.
Right, yeah.
But the house is empty, dusty, and neglected. There's a door to the basement. In the basement, there's a broken TV and a couch with 2 skeleton children sitting on it. And at that point, Bowser busts through the floor, and he looks way more realistic with longer arms, claws, realistic spikes coming out of his back, a huge toothy grin, and solid black eyes. Bowser asks Mario to surrender. Mario nods. Bowser impales Mario on his claws. There's no blood or nothing. Then he lifts him up and bites his head off. Again, no blood. Because it's totally a tech demo still.
Yeah.
But then it fades to black. And then the next level is called Mario's Eternal Home. Mario's in one piece again, floating in a black void, just tumbling around or whatever. And you can kind of guide his tumbling direction, but that's about it. But Nair sees some gray speck in the distance, and after ages of tumbling towards it, he gets to it, and it's a tombstone that says innocence. And that's essentially it.
Yep, that's it. So, on that cheery note, let's go to everyone tolerates the grandma positions at this point. So I'm just going to use this one here. Start with this one in particular. Bowser's laugh from Super Mario 64 looped in the background while a plain text box displayed this dialogue. Mario, I have taken Princess Peach, and she will not live to see the sunrise tomorrow unless you take her unless you take her place. Unless you take her life. It's what? Unless you take her place. You know what to do and where to go. Do not try to stop me unless you want to hasten her death. So, here's something. This is really just kind of a pick at how it was written on the story. Also, trope number, redacted, sound effects looping for creepy effect. Just as a pull into the actual thoughts for a second. Because that's a clear video game, spooky video game trope.
Well, it's just the whole Mario 64 Bowser laugh.
Yeah, but it's on repeat for that effect.
But it's only on repeat until you move the text.
Oh, is that actually a thing?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I honestly just thought it might have been one of those spooky video game tropes where they just to use the same thing over and over again, try and kind of either both annoy you and also kind of try and disturb you.
Pretty sure Mario 64 when Bowser's talking, the text box would come up and he'd be ha ha ha, and then he would shut up for a while, and then he'd occasionally give another ha 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 in the middle of it, or as he's leaving. But I don't think it repeated, did it?
No. Well,
constantly.
But as soon as you just have your second laugh, isn't the laugh sort of repeating?
You will die tonight.
Anyway, all right. So I'm willing to negate that then. However, my actual the bone to pick with this for a grammar position is that all right. So these text boxes that come up in the story are all done in italics. That's not going to fly with me. I'm sorry.
Are they?
I do feel I did actually had to go. I went on the website and double checked it. I do feel quotations would have been better for these moments because they are literally captioning a message. Because when I first read it, it's just it really would have been better if it had been in quotes or even brackets.
Yeah. And in game it would have been in quote because I'm remembering quotes in Mario 64.
Yeah, they always did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just
Why did I read that as quotation? I'm looking over it. It's italic, but I read it as if it was quotes.
Well, it does say like the text box displayed with this dialogue, so you just immediately mentally add that in.
Yeah, or I'm so used to playing Mario games and it's always quoted.
Yeah,
so.
fair. But my next one, what appeared to be Mario seemed to have. Oh yeah, right. This is okay. Sorry. No. What appeared to be Mario seemed to have broken through the floor from below and landed in front of Mario. I feel like this sentence has a little too much vagary, like sort of like writing uhs and ums. You need to be more definitive. Like, say what appeared to be Bowser broke through the floor. Don't just say appeared to what appeared to be Bowser seemed to break through the floor. Like, how does it seem to break the floor? It either broke through the floor or it didn't.
Unless you weren't looking at it and you just heard a crash, and then you see Bowser going poof and like landing.
Yeah, but I feel like for this part, like this sentence in particular, like just get rid of that seemed to, and just straight up just say he broke through the floor. Like,
well, it's also describing graphics because it's a game. So if the floor is still there and not broken, but he pushes through it,
let's just say they face through the floor or something like that. Like. Yeah, I don't know. Like,
I'm with you. It is weird how unsure it is of itself here.
Yeah, and it happens a lot in stories. Like people are like, what appeared to be this thing I think did this. Like, no, it either did or didn't. Like,
unless
be more definitive is what I'm getting at.
Unless it's a story where like they're trying to recall something for 20 years ago.
Yeah, but I mean, then like make that more apparent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And my last grammar position. The reptilian monster in the game had Bowser's basic brownish yellow and green color pattern, but looked far more threatening than any Bowser model I had seen before. So this is just a simple typo. Mm-hmm. It's seen before, not seen before. Mm-hmm. And that's basically all the grammar positions that I cared to pick at. So, Mikey, these stands for evil. Do it! Kill me! Yeah!
I have an it story.
Ooh.
And now, an it story with Mikey. The E stands for evil. Take it away.
It isn't clear exactly what happened at Nintendo during this period. It looked like the Super Mario Galaxy model. It wasn't gigantic, but scaled as if Mario was a very small child. It was not proportioned like the Bowser I knew. Its arms and legs were far longer in relation to its body and ended in razor-sharp claws. It was the only thing on the screen besides the black background. It was floating, as if in space. It sounded like it was supposed to be Mario's cries. It took a very long time to reach, and grew closer at a much slower rate than it should have. It was a very plain one, with cracks in several places.
Cool.
So Bowser showed up, floating in a void, far away, and you eventually got to him, but he was like all cracked and like fucked up.
So it's like a dry bones version of Bowser?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Or just like a statue of Bowser.
Yeah.
Just all cracked over.
Yeah, it's like one of those statues from his castle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Is that all your grammar positions?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. All right, I guess we're just going to move on to actual thoughts then. All right. Mario has been a gaming icon for decades and has been in more games than can be counted. 253 currently is hardly too many to be counted, though Jesus, that's a lot of games. I went online and like, how many games has Mario been in? And, like, that I counted from the list. So, Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 259. I did the same.
Okay, 259? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus. Like, man. I mean, granted, okay, that is actually a fair amount of like, okay, yeah, it's like countless. Like, I would let somebody go if they did like too many to be counted or countless, because I was getting tired by like the 200
Oh yeah, totally.
mark.
We only counted just because we wanted to know.
Yeah, and also to be really nitpicky.
Yeah.
But yeah, so on to my next one. Nintendo started working on a sequel to the 1969 Mario. Wow. 20 years before Mario even came out.
No.
No. Nintendo started working on a sequel to the 1996 Super Mario 64 shortly after the game was released, but during the late 90s, it became clear that Nintendo was not winning the console wars. So, this first page or so worth of story, I felt more like it was an essay using information from the wiki article for the actual Super Mario 128 than an actual story.
Yes.
Like, nothing wrong with this information, like, being, like, put into the story, like, but it felt like too much of an exposition drop. Like,
not for someone who doesn't know what Super Mario 128 is.
That's true, and I honestly didn't really know what Super Mario 128 was until I literally checked the wiki article because of this.
Is it identical at the start?
It's pretty close. Like, a lot of this information seems like just basically pulled from the wiki.
Yeah.
So
that's good, though, because it makes it immersive.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just like... It could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing, like, depending on, like, how you take it. Like, I thought it was actually kind of dry at the beginning, so I was like, okay, this isn't really much of a story. This is just an article. This is just, like, literally somebody, like, publishing an essay. But then... but it's on to like a page and a half or so. Then he's like, now we're entering the actual video game creepypasta. That was all context to this. Okay, mm-hmm. But yeah, take it or leave it. It was like, Then my next one here. Seeing the generally more realistic and violent games on Sony's PlayStation, the market leader, Nintendo.
PlayStation, the market leader, period.
Yes. It doesn't say period. It says it's comma, the market leader, comma.
Well, it's separated somewhere.
Yeah. Seeing the generally more realistic and violent games on Sony's PlayStation, the market leader, Nintendo considered making a Mario that was closer in tone to what the public seemed to want. Mario needs more edge. Needs more edge.
I don't know if I would like that.
I know.
Yeah. If it was just like a super, like, hyper-realistic looking game where Mario looks like a dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, the first mini games you have to play are like plunging a toilet and shit.
Yeah, like, I feel like we talk about that idea, like, and like how like throwing Mario into creepy thing, into like more realistic things, like for like giggles and stuff like that. But like, I don't know if I'd actually like be comfortable if Nintendo went that route.
No,
with the actual game. Like, I feel like Luigi's Mansion is good because it's Luigi, first of all.
Yeah.
But also like it is darker, but also sillier. Like it parodies darkness, like horror stuff.
Yeah. Mario is like the one character that you can't do this with.
I mean, you can, like, I'd honestly be fine with Mario getting a Luigi's Mansion treatment. Like him specifically getting a Mario. Like,
I mean specifically like a like, dark, edgy. Put him in
like,
Call of Duty.
Like going Call of Duty. Yeah, exactly. Like again, like there are great short films and like little like fan projects that people do of that. That's cool.
Yes.
I don't know if I'd ever want an official one though.
No,
like I think it's good to have that like in the fandom and in the aether, like for fan fiction and some of that. I don't think I could ever. I'd ever really be like. I think we'd probably make fun of it for being too serious. Like I think we'd be like we'd be on the other side of the bench where we're like, why did they make such a grit? You know, we got that. It was Super Mario the film. That was basically a more edgy Super Mario Brothers movie. Like if you think about it, like
a video game would have been Super Mario Brothers the movie, the game.
Yeah, no, it would basically be that. Yeah, and I mean, like again, I like that movie. For a lot of dumb reasons. But I like that movie, like, for its edginess and stuff like that. But I don't know if I'd actually want a Nintendo-licensed Mario game that was like that. Like, I don't know. Like,
the entire purpose of Mario's character is he is a like always happy, always energetic, like hero, and he's like
technically, if you want to go right to his roots, an edgier Mario game was basically Donkey Kong, because you're running along girders, like in the real world, fighting off a giant monkey who's taking your girl, and dodging like flaming barrels and like smashing things.
In the lore, isn't that Jumpman?
No,
that's Mario's father.
Yeah, but no, apparently in like the recent games, like because there was a DS game for them that's actually made it canonized to Mario again.
Oh,
or at least in some one of the iterations of Mario, there is Mario.
Mm-hmm. He said some stupid potential names, by the way, apparently. One of them was middle-aged guy.
Well, yeah.
What's a potential name for him?
Well, I mean, his Mario came from basically like a Nintendo boss, basically.
I don't think he's a boss. I think he's like some guy working in the shipping department.
Yeah, working in the shipping department in the Nintendo of America.
Yeah, just some fat guy with a mustache named Mario. It's like, let's make a game out of him. He's cool.
Yeah. Or he looks like Jumpman from our Japanese Famicom series.
I don't know if it worked one way or the other. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'd have to do a little bit more research on that.
Maybe.
But yeah, so it's
just both relevant and not relevant to what we're talking about.
Yeah. Really, I was just picking at it. It was like needs more edge, just like the Suicide Mouse or the Disney stuff that we've done in the past.
Yeah. What was it? Just the Mexican Toy Story.
Yeah, it was the Toy Story thing. Yeah, the Black Friday event. Yeah. All right. On to the. I think it was Black Sunday. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm sure future me will just like add in something if I'm wrong,
or just be like, I don't feel like looking it up and delete all this.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on. The source that revealed the internal strife at Nintendo during the later N64 era refused to discuss what was happening during the time of the GameCube's failure, but released a prototype of Super Mario 128 online that can be played on the Wii Homebrew channel. The following is a recollection of my time playing it. The game was clearly an early beta. The title screen was nothing but white text saying Super Mario 128 against a black background. Oh, lost episode creepypasta tropes. I've missed you. I will say, it is kind of neat to have a lost episode that is also a video game, and not just be a haunted video game.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's that at least. And my next thing here.
Well, with that one, because I'm just going to bring it up anyways.
Yeah, sure.
He says it's like a... What does he refer to it as?
It was an early beta?
It's probably more like a pre-alpha.
Yeah.
Because of how, like, simple everything is. Like, the title screen's a black background with white text.
Yeah.
Like, they haven't even done the title art. In betas, there's always title art.
Yeah. Personally, I've always gotten kind of confused as to, like, what the difference is between alpha and beta. Like, alpha is, like, when it's early stages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pre-alpha is, like, one of the first running copies of the game.
Yeah.
And then alpha is, like, it's kind of together, but not really. And then beta is, like, okay, this is together enough that we're feeling okay with letting the community try it and let us know.
And nowadays, alpha is like there's access to alpha like nowadays in certain games. So like now that's what's getting me confused on shit. Is like people are like companies are being more like lenient in getting their game out there in alpha to like have people test and play.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Yeah. All right, so moving right on to the next one. This went on for a few minutes, and eventually people stopped appearing. Mario got up. I was back in control, but he couldn't jump at all and had reduced walking speed. You took Jumpman's main trait. Man, that's edgy.
They did that at the start of the game, too, because he could barely jump.
It wasn't as bad, but now they've completely taken it away from him.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that literally Mario's root trait was he was Jumpman.
Have you seen the Super Mario Bros. Movie?
I have.
Where, like, Mario doesn't want to jump places.
That's right.
Like Luigi jumps over something. He's like, "Come on, Mario!" It's like, "I can't jump." You're Mario.
You've been jumping all the damn time.
Yeah. It probably won't be the last time we bring up the movie. I apologize.
No, actually, I have it in here.
So
moving on to my next quote. I was starting to get really disturbed by now. How would a Mario game containing this been programmed to this extent? to my comment to this is, honestly, this feels like it was going the route of Twilight Princess, which was a darker, almost horror fantasy theme, or horror fantasy themed Zelda game for the same console.
It's way darker than Twilight Princess.
Hang on. Actually, have you played through all of Twilight Princess? There is some terrifying there's some disturbing shit in that game.
Have lovable characters told Link that he needs to kill himself and no one likes him?
There is some trippy fucking creepy shit in that game. Is all I'm saying.
Not talking visuals.
No, I'm literally saying, that there is a sequence where, like, it's like he goes to like Link goes to hell and is like having a really bad trip and like sees like some of his friends get killed or like him getting possessed by evil spirits and shit. Like there's some weird shit in that game.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's not as dark as this in my opinion.
But I'm saying like it's a similar like path that it was taking, or that it seemed like this game was kind of trying to take, and it's going a little bit farther than that. But
it seems like Link got the edge.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense because like Legend of Zelda like is a fantasy game, and they have had multiple games that are like horror. There's actually been lots of little like horror nods throughout the.
They played Ocarina of Time and fought what's his name? The guy that's in the sewer where you need the lens of truth.
Oh yeah, not King Babongo, Lord Babongo.
No, the dude that's like this white.
Oh, no
husk.
hands, yeah.
He's like a zombie with these like extra zombie hands and shit on a floor of skulls.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking creepy. I mean, that was what made it so good. Like what I enjoyed the most about it. And then we got Majora's Mask, which was basically like, is Link just dead and this is purgatory? Like, that kind of shit. And then, like, Twilight Princess, again, like, they harkened back to that. And even in some of the other games, like the GameCube games, or the Game Boy Color games, like the Age in Season 1, there are, like, you're walking through a battlefield where there are corpses in spots and stuff. Like, there's darkness in those Zelda games, but, like...
That's a different level of darkness to what we're talking about, though.
And even, like...
It's like if you started a Zelda game, and your aunt or whoever that you're living with is, like... pissed off with you and tells Link
to go
kill himself.
Yeah, no.
Here's a knife. Go kill yourself.
I understand. This is definitely farther darker than that. But I'm just saying, like, it seemed like this was the kind of the route, like they were, like, or kind of the theming they were going.
Same path, but this is like way further down.
Yeah, this Mario game went farther than Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
And yeah, given some of the things that game did, honestly, it's not hard for me to see like Nintendo like considering doing that, giving that treatment to Mario. Just the story made it like took it like a lot farther. Like I could see a Mario game getting like them like, oh, maybe we should do like a darker Mario game because that seems to be what people want. Like I could see that part of the story, like presenting that in the story, like seems like it's actually like is familiar, like something that could actually happen
because it did happen.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's based off that article.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, given the... so, discarding my suspension of disbelief here for a second. If it weren't for the lost episode game tropes that sort of muddle the descriptors in the story, this does have an inkling for a cool concept to me. Like, again, like a Mario game that's super dark. And if you want to know like, what some of those tropes I'm talking about, like that are muddling the story for me, realistic graphic models... like in a video game that doesn't use realistic graphic models. Simple text screens with lack of certain interfaces and menus. Character attempting suicide. NPCs spewing hate for the main player character. Strange, obtuse, and drastically different level designs that are done simply to be creepy in the game that they're playing. And no music or eerie silence in spots.
It's not a Mario game anymore.
No, I know.
Why would you want that?
And then my next one here. It was not proportioned like the Bowser I knew. Its arms and legs were far longer in relation to its body and ended in razor-sharp claws. The green shell didn't look like it had spikes glued on. They were more jagged and organic looking, with the same dark green color the rest of the shell had. Again, not seeing an issue with the game style, like the game's like styling here, because it is a dark Mario. if we take that out, like the whole like, oh, Mario shouldn't be dark. Like, it is a cool idea to have like a dark Mario. Just kind of how it's told in this story. This feels more like in line with like Twilight Princess or Metroid Prime, or like one of those like those more mature Nintendo products than a Mario game. And mashing it with Mario. I don't know, like, it does seem like this is basically Super Mario Bros., the film, the game. Just saying. Like, even, like, the fact that, like, he ends up in, like, a realistic town, like, I immediately envision, like, the Bronx, or, like...
Super Mario Odyssey.
Yep.
Oh, fuck, you're right. But even that is not, like, dark at all. Like, it's, like, done up, like, it's basically, like, nice and colorful and shit, too.
It's a realistic town, though, with realistic humans.
That's true.
And your child size.
And Mario is not human-sized at all. He's actually... We find out that he's a completely different subspecies of human.
Yeah.
Honestly, it feels more like Toontown entering, like, the real world, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Like, that's kind of what it feels like.
100%, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So moving on to my next thing here. I still didn't have control. Mario just stood there, shivering it for several seconds, before nodding his head. Bowser impaled Mario with his claws. There was no blood, but it was clear from the animation and sound effects that the sharp digits on Bowser's hands had gone through Mario's body. So, another trope, the player losing control of the character for video game pastas. However, I'm actually give this story some props for not having blood in a game that wouldn't have blood. Like,
why wouldn't it have blood? Why wouldn't it have blood?
Well, I mean, like, in terms of a like, for once, because it is a video game trope to throw blood into a game that doesn't have blood generally, or shouldn't have blood in it, because it's a Mario game. And Gamer's just shaking his head.
I'm gonna let you finish.
Yeah, fair. But yeah, it was actually, like, I give it props for, like, actually, like, not having blood in a game. Would you like to, Gamer, you go. You intercept me here for a second.
It's a pre-alpha.
So
the game's not done. So they haven't put the blood in.
Oh, that's fair, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I suppose. Regardless, I give it props as a story, not as the game, that, like, it didn't just use gratuitous blood. Like, why would there be blood in a Mario game? Like, because that is a trope in video game creepypastas, where they just...
If the game was complete, there would have been blood. I'll tell you right now.
I guess, yeah.
He's impaled with the sound. They put the sound of it in.
Yeah.
And his head was bitten off.
Well, there's no sound effects, like, of the blood. There's just him, like, dying. Like, his death throes, basically.
You said there was the sound of him being impaled. You just read that.
Oh, fuck, you're right. Okay, yeah.
Which means that there's a...
Yeah, I guess. Alright, fair enough.
It's just not done.
Yeah. Which, again, does kind of differentiate this from being a lost episode rather than a haunted video game.
Mm-hmm.
On to the next one. This is in regards to the high-pitched crying was layered with voices after a bit. And, like, it was basically the sound... Like, Mario's crying, and then... a bunch of voices of, like, just, like, people, like, ragging on Mario and, like, telling him to kill himself and hating him and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then Mario, like, just crying repeatedly. And how this really disturbed the narrator men for this. And found themselves fighting back tears. For reasons I can't understand, this was affecting me on an emotional level. And trope never... Creepy video game... sparks a distressing emotional reaction, yet nothing more than extreme sadness, no physical threat applied. Just apparently a psychological attack. Mm-hmm. Or in that the person is, like, feeling, like, really empathetic toward the video game. I don't know, it's just like... Yeah, we've had those in video game creepypastas before, like in the Pokepastas specifically, where, like, the person, like, gets super empathetic and, like, starts, like, getting really sad or, like, depressed as a result of, like, playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then my final one is regards to the tombstone that Mario finds at the end of the blackness, and its writing is innocence. My response when I read that was like, man, that's deep. Like, I get it, kind of. like it's probably like innocence of like Mario's fun games and nostalgia are dead in this game as a reflection / commentary to the reaction of Mario and rather Nintendo's losses of the years leading up to this game being created. Like it's almost like kind of a, again to me like that it's a cool idea for a creepy Mario video game that reflects a darker time in Nintendo's company. It's just the story for me was bogged down a lot by a lot of those like video game creepypasta tropes that are just like used just for the sake of being in video game creepypastas. And I'm not sure if like that's intentional or if it's just like a byproduct of writing these kind of stories for video games, like using video games in a creepy story, and like they're kind of just a byproduct of that kind of like idea for this writing. But I feel like we need to get out of those tropes in a lot of ways. But yeah, that is my actual thoughts until final thoughts. So, Mikey, these stands for.
Those hyper-realistic clouds sure are intense.
Trope number redacted.
Yeah. The quote here: the clouds seemed more realistic than the usual cartoony puffs in Mario games. They were quite graphically impressive.
To be fair, I've seen like realistic clouds or sky elements in Mario games. Like
It's a JPEG.
yeah, basically that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's a map. It's a cloud map that's like put around the level.
Yeah. And then to mimic you, all I could think about was how Mario needs more edge.
Yeah, I will say this story has a lot of like, it has a lot of lost episode tropes as well as video game tropes, like or creepy video game tropes.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing. The thing with me, like I'm seeing all these like creepy video game tropes, and they're usually associated with like haunted video games or cursed video games. And this isn't one of those stories. Like this is again like Gamer put up. This is basically supposed to be like a lost like pre-alpha that was never intended to be seen because
as the game or as the story says, you can apparently download it on the Wii Market.
Yeah.
I don't have a Wii, so I didn't check.
No, you can download it for the Wii Homebrew channel, which means you have to hack your Wii to get the Homebrew channel. And I'm pretty sure that most of that bricks devices now. Because of updates from Nintendo themselves.
Yeah, because Nintendo's very, they're very protective of their famed Italian plumber and their products.
Mm-hmm.
So considering it's from something like that, he just downloaded a hacked version of it.
He just downloaded some guy's like fan made video game. Actually, now kind of more what I'm seeing with this.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And then the whole Toad being a bully. Like, we don't want you anymore, Mario.
That's not how Toad sounds.
It'd be like, we don't want you anymore, Mario.
Go fucking down.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Just like, poor Toad.
Mm-hmm.
You poor Toad. Poor Mario.
But yeah, what? Yeah, no, I was like, for a second, I thought you were going like poor Mario, and then poor Toad's like, what?
Well, what did Mario do to make Toad so angry? There's stuff that we don't know here.
Oh my god. Can't believe you're seriously on Team Toad. You monster. So evil.
Yup. You see, they didn't set up like the whole like intro cinematic yet.
So we didn't get to see like the atrocities that Mario did.
Yeah,
we didn't see the genocide of like the Mushroom Kingdom at the hands of Mario.
Yeah, because like after the events of Mario 64, he's like drunk with power now that he's king or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably what happens.
Yeah, Mario just like flying in with, like on some like on like a cloud, just dropping like an A bomb and like nuking the Mushroom Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Just a giant mushroom, like design
spotted mushroom cloud. Yeah.
Yes, totally. Thank you, Game Grumps, for giving us that or for sharing that animation there.
Mm-hmm.
I might actually leave that in the description.
Yeah, do it
for the Toads March. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Bowser just became super evil because kidnapping is his game, and in this he straight up wants to kill.
Yeah, because usually he wants Princess Toadstool or Princess Peach or whatever to either marry her so that they can, because he's actually in love with her, or because it'll unite the kingdoms, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's just trying to bring peace and prosperity to
Yeah, by turning, but if you also look at some of the early manuals for the game, he used his magic, his wizards and whatnot to turn the people of the Mushroom Kingdom into those bricks that you're smashing in the first Mario games.
Yeah, so he can implement, or he can essentially frame Mario for murder.
Yeah, so
he's trying to openly go against his thoughts and wants of unification of the entire.
He's really a complex creature.
Yeah, he is. I'm on Team Bowser.
Yeah, and my other thoughts here is that if Bowser has truly become evil, then he's already killed Peach. And this whole dialogue is just trying to get Mario to give up without a fight.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Very possible. Just... yeah. And then once Mario's out of the picture, it's all right, now we can unite the kingdoms.
Yeah, the end scene could have had, 2 tombstones. One saying Innocence and one saying Princess Peach. Oh, fuck.
Oh, shit.
And then I feel like there was a missed opportunity with the skeletons on the couch. That they could have been dry bones.
Right? Yeah.
And then they just don't react.
Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised they didn't, come to life and start attacking Mario for some reason. Yeah.
Considering in the cartoony version of all the Mario games, there are skeletons that come alive and attack Mario.
Yeah.
But in the dark one, they don't.
Yeah.
Man.
Apparently. Well, if they're just regular skeletons, that gives it creepier because, they're just dead people in a Mario game.
And they're dead humans.
Yeah.
They're not dead turtles.
They're not dry bones. They're just skeletons.
They're just bones.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my next thoughts here is actually about the tech demo itself. Because I read it and the wiki and actually watched the video. And it was created to test the hardware for the Nintendo 64 disk drive. Which never took off. It was a complete failure. So they basically didn't have the upgrade in technology that they wanted for Mario 128.
So they waited till the GameCube came out.
So they waited, and essentially the tech demo literally is Super Mario 128. There's 128 Marios on the screen rendered.
I remember seeing the images and stuff of that for
And thinking about it, this actually paved the way not for Luigi's Mansion or even Mario Sunshine, but Pikmin.
Yeah, Pikmin. Also Mario Galaxy.
Mario Galaxy because of the whole...
They were playing around with the level design with a sphere kind of thing.
Yeah.
In that one. Also, so it's not just the fact that 128 is the
bits or whatever
is 64 times 2.
Yeah,
it's actually how many Marios they could simulate without the system crashing terribly.
Yeah.
I mean, they may have also just picked that number because it's double of 64.
That's true too. Yeah, they could have done that.
Yeah, and from the videos, just watching it's kind of interesting. There's a point that made me laugh because at one point, one of the Marios takes another Mario and rolls him off the edge.
Nice.
No, nice Mario. Just throw it.
What edge? I thought it isn't. Didn't you say it's on a globe or some shit?
No, it's on a disc.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
So just, and then after that happens, a bunch of other ones start rolling other Marios on the end.
They're learning.
They're learning. It's like, we should not be. Or, we should not be. So long, Mario.
Yeah. Yeah. And based on all this information, the Super Mario 128 project is more about what can we do with the technology and turn it into a game, as opposed to an actual game. It's like, it literally is just a code name for our tech.
Your tech demo. Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, like what are the limitations, or what are the creative avenues for this engine that we have now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like, I read part of that, the wiki article as well. And I was like, yeah, it just feels like this story was muddled down by like trying to make an edgy video game creepypasta Mario, and
meanwhile, that part has nothing to do with 128.
Right? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, that part has nothing to do with it. It basically felt like, again, like a lost episode, like pasta, but with video game. And they just used generic lost episode tropes. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at with with what I was saying earlier. It's just like, a lot of these tropes don't really need to be here because that's not the interesting part of this like the topic you're trying to present. It's the 128's like history, like that has no, like, you give us like a page and a half of like the 128 and like go down that avenue, but then you don't like go the same route that this Mario game went in terms of the dark path. Like, it goes like,
I don't know what you're trying to get at.
Yeah, I'm trying to like think of what I'm trying to say here. Like,
it said in the rundown that they were apparently wanting to make Mario more edgy and and violent. Yeah, which sets up the story.
Yeah, and really the fact that it's homebrew means that anybody could have made this lost episode. And it's not an official product by any means.
Like I saw on YouTube, there was a hacked version of Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo where all the characters were from Street Fighter. Like, there's hack shit out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's tons of those kind of things.
And even like the new stuff, like on PlayStation 4, there's a game called Dreams.
Okay.
And I have seen footage of Mario created in Dreams, and he has his patented jump style.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if somebody can do this in a game that creates games, then anybody can
do that. Yeah. Well, again, it's like part of like, again, like it's the fan base and stuff like there's tons of like fan fiction and like fan art and fan creations. Like, what's that? The crossover like thing where they took the original like Mario game, like the side scrolling Mario game, and added in different Nintendo characters that interact differently while playing through it, like Link, Samus.
Super Mario Brothers crossover.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, like, I mean that's a thing. Like, and it's like a little bit more simple because it's a like a side-scrolling 2D platformer.
It's the original Mario with different Nintendo characters.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, wasn't that just an animation that they?
No, it's a full game.
No, it's a full game.
Oh,
yeah.
He's updated it multiple times. Yeah, I don't think he's done anything with it for ages, but.
Yeah, and again, like now we have
maybe like Shinobi and everything in it.
Yeah, and I mean now we have like
Gaiden, actually. Sorry,
Nintendo branded Super Mario Maker, like Super Mario Game Maker, basically, where you can make your own like levels and stuff like that. So I'm sure, like again, like this game has some the story has some cool ideas. It's kind of muddled by the tropes.
All right, so that's the end of my thoughts.
Cool. I kind of chimed in with most of my thoughts throughout because you guys were talking about roughly the same thing.
As I was mad rambling.
Not bad. So the only thing I really have written down left is in regards to the picture.
Oh, right, yeah.
What's that picture even from? That's not from this story.
That's the tech story. Yeah, that's a picture from the tech demo video.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured based on...
to be here?
No, it doesn't. Not at all. I'm like, okay, well, he sort of looks like a slightly taller and more realistic Mario.
You'd be better off using a screenshot of like when somebody went into like Super Mario Brothers Brawl or whatever the Super Smash Brothers game, and like switch people's skins or like skeletons together. So like you had it was like there's some creepy fucking like distortions as a result of it. But basically, you take like Snake's either Snake or one of the more like proportioned human characters.
Mhm.
You take that skeleton and put it into Peach, and you have like long limbed like Peach. Like, it's like
I have not seen that.
You'd be better off doing that with like Mario and like even like or having like taking Ripley's skeleton from the newest like Smash Brothers and putting it into like Bowser's to make him like more like shrunken down and like more creepy and lithe and shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like they could have just taken a picture of Mario from Super Mario Sunshine,
Yeah.
and then just photoshopped a Mario 64 head on him, and then just like squish and stretch to get the proper.
Oh yeah, like
proportions.
Photoshop wise, yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, that's more work than just getting a screenshot from the game. But
Well, it's probably actually is less work because you have to go in and actually like find somebody who has like a hacked version of that game to like throw in the skeletons.
he saw a video.
We saw a video of the tech demo,
Tech demo,
which is
yeah.
not the same as like what we're.
No, but the screenshot in the story is the tech demo.
yes.
So it's easier to screenshot that video
Yeah,
and put that here compared to doing some Photoshop work.
yeah, but I mean, like the Photoshop work would be more accurate to what the story is presenting.
Yes, but whether or not the artist knows anyone
Yeah.
who can do Photoshop work, or whether or not he or she, herself or himself, can do
They-
Photoshop work,
Yeah.
that's left to be seen.
Yeah, fair. Okay. Is that it?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really expecting this one to be like groundbreaking or like crazy. Although I was surprised at how angry I was getting at the story for the tropes and shit. Just because I don't know, they just don't need to be there.
If they're not there, then there's no story.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, there's
Yeah, the hyper realism.
like that those kind of tropes. Like I feel like it just like kind of ruins the inklings that I liked about the story, because there are things in the story I did actually enjoy. Like I liked the darker path of Mario. Even again, like we don't want to see that in reality. Like we don't actually want to see that in like be an actual game, because I think that would be it would be really off brand for Mario. But it's cool to like think about that and like to have like a story for that. And this, like, again, I don't hate that idea for this in the story. The problem is that the video game creepypasta and lost episode tropes kind of muddle it down. Like the ideas I liked in this, like they've just been like all those tropes are just kind of like overplayed. But sorry, I'll leave.
It's for the best.
Yeah, no, I'm staying. Fuck you.
All right.
Basically, I can't recommend this story. Like it really did kind of irk me a little bit. There's some cool ideas in it, but the rest of the story kind of bogs it down for me. So that's my recommendation. If you've been able to glean anything from my mad ramblings from earlier with my actual thoughts, yeah.
Well, everything about this that is creepy isn't.
Yeah.
Like Mario giving up and being sad, Toad being a bully, Bowser planning on killing Peach but settling for Mario as long as he gives up.
It's creepy. You know what it is? There's a dissonance here.
Yeah.
It's creepy, I'm sure, if I saw that, if I was actually playing this game. Like, it would be disturbing creepy. But it's kind of hard to convey that secondhand. Like, I'm not finding this creepy. I understand in my head, like, this would be creepy. But I'm not creeped out because I've seen this 100 times by now.
And it's also the disconnect, as if like playing Outlast compared to watching a Let's Play of Outlast.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I've watched a couple of Let's Plays of horror games because I don't want to play the horror games because I can't. It's hard. It takes like I need somebody with me in the room to get through some games, because sometimes games have like a really have an immersion level that like really freaks me out.
Yeah. And that I think that hits the nail on the head there. Like playing a horror game, you get that adrenaline rush and you're become scared potentially.
You get anxiety from like having to hide and sneak past something.
Yeah. And whereas if you're watching someone play, it's not as
You're in a safe
bad.
zone. You're
Yeah.
not. Yeah,
It's not happening to you. It's happening
exactly.
to that guy.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
person. So you have the opportunity to just like close your eyes or like hide behind the covers, kind of thing. Whereas you can't do that when you're playing a game because you're literally controlling a character.
Problem being, you can't emulate that feeling in a story,
Or if you
because the reader has no choice.
Yeah, and I mean you can, but you have to tackle it from a different angle, not just the plain angle like this one presents. You need to do it from more like in the character's head kind of focus. It basically, in order to get the scares, you're not trying to scare them with what's happening in the story. You're basically just trying to get them into the headspace of the character.
Mm-hmm. And in this right from the get go, that it's laid out like the character is telling you what happened to him.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're jacking into his head.
Yeah.
Where you can see through his eyes. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like I read and like we point out, these are recollections that this guy did of the story. Like I keep saying it, but like it just harkens back to a bunch of overused tropes in video game creepypastas and lost episode pastas. It's like they've been done so much that like I'm either desensitized from their use, or I think they're quaint at this point and not scary or creepy at all, or like they're just boring. Like this is rather forgettable. Like part of the reason I wanted Gamer to do the rundown is because I had almost partially forgotten about the story. I had forgotten this, like what was even in the story, and I would have to reread the story.
Isn't part of the reason tropes are a thing is because that's a list of essentially the common things that people choose when writing a story?
Yeah,
Like without even knowing that they're common.
yeah.
So
There are ways
you
to
can't
get
really
around it.
hate on them too much for choosing the common things because that's what you would go to naturally first.
Yes, but there is a difference between like basically this is the difference between a first draft and an edited draft. Like you do a first draft and then you get somebody to look at it and you pick okay, this why is this scary? Like why is this here? Kind of like why like this is this is really common. You should do something different here. Like you get an outside opinion on that, and then you think outside the box. You try and think of a different angle on how to attack that piece. Like I don't fault the person who wrote this for doing it because again, like I'm sure this is a common. This seems like a common thing enough that like it's probably just something that people do when they write a creepy story or they want to write a creepy lost episode video game like story. I'm sure you fall into these tropes. Like I've been writing some creepypastas on the side. And I've seen myself fall into certain tropes. Mm-hmm. It's just a thing that happens. Mm-hmm. But in being able to acknowledge that trope and like find a way to like get rid of it or fix or like change it a little bit so that it's more interesting or more creepy, and so your story isn't just like a forgettable like thing that needs to go into the trash.
Wow, pretty brutal.
Yeah. Well.
I feel like you're treating this worse than Spyro.exe.
No.
Like,
no. But
you're saying some harsh words here.
It is pretty close to Spyro.exe. Spyro.exe suffered in that, like, with the just how it was written. Like, not like this is a matter of like the story's not badly written in terms of like it obviously had some kind of edit because of the grammar and stuff. But we didn't really have a whole lot of grammar issues. Mm-hmm. The problem with the story is that it's falling into the tropes of like the content itself is falling into the tropes, not the writing itself. Mm-hmm. That's been my biggest issue with the story is just like there's some cool ideas in it, but everything around those ideas I'm just bored with. Mm-hmm. Right? Like that's kind of what I'm getting at. So
also thinking about this, is the author K.I. Simpson okay? Because to me this story sort of screams cry for help and potentially suffering from depression.
I mean, it's possible.
Look at any creepypasta.
Yeah, but...
And you could say that about any writer.
But this one specifically, because Mario, if you look at him as a depressed person and being bullied and stuff like that...
There is actually a world of difference between an author and their story. Like they do separate.
Yeah, they do separate. But in some cases, some people write what they know.
That's fair, but
and if they're currently depressed, then they're writing a depressing story. And if they put themselves in Mario's shoes, they want someone to kill them.
I don't think that's. I mean, maybe, but I'm not taking it that way.
If you want to see it that real life dark, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah. K.I. Simpson has done other stories, which we could, I guess, look at and you can analyze, I guess, to see. But
Yeah.
You could be like a therapist here, like analyze all this.
Yeah.
Come to some unnecessary conclusions.
Yeah, I'm personally, I don't think so, but again, I'm not sure because I don't know the person, obviously. But I mean, again, I do know as a writer, like I've written some dark shit, and I'm fine.
Yeah, but then you sort of live in that sphere of reading the dark shit, so your mind has the ideas already. Whether or not you would actually do any of the things, probably not.
No,
but you have all that stuff in your head that you can write down.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like people like write. I mean, I say this, it's like. But Edgar Allan Poe, I was about to like reference Edgar Allan Poe, but he was definitely suffering from depression while he was doing his writing. Like that was, and sometimes writing is a way of like venting that and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like
that's where the cry for help comes out. Cause
that's what he's getting at.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I didn't see it that way. It's interesting that you saw it that you're going that road, but I don't know. Okay,
it's possible, but we don't know the person, so there's no way we can know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
K.I., if you're out there listening to us, let us know. How you doing? Also, sorry that I ripped your story a new one.
Yup.
Yeah. All in all, the story is sort of interesting, but it falls into the holes that
don't say the T word anymore. I'm so sick of hearing it.
What tropes?
That's why I said holes.
Yeah.
Falls into the holes.
Falls into the bumps and issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that many creepypastas fall into. So
yeah.
I'm not gonna recommend it.
Yeah.
All right. For me, it was interesting to learn about Mario 128, even though I didn't go deep enough to read the actual Wikipedia entry. Mm-hmm. So I took the fact section at the start as gospel truth, at least in regards to this story.
Yeah.
And like we talked about, I could see Nintendo being like, should we go a little more edgy? That's what the kids want. But, like, whether or not... Like, I think the most they would do is a tech demo to see how it would feel.
Yeah.
I don't think they would ever actually go through with it.
Well, they did. It was called Luigi's Mansion, which they...
It's still cartoony and lighthearted.
Well, and that's as far as they wanted to go with Mario. Like, and again...
What I mean... realistic, violent.
Yeah.
That's what it was saying.
Yeah.
And Luigi's Mansion has neither of those.
No, I understand that. Again, in reality, I don't think Nintendo would ever do that to Mario.
I just said that.
I know, sorry.
But, the story that was portrayed, it didn't feel Mario enough at all. Like, you could replace Mario with anyone, and it would still do the same story. So,
like, it could have been, like, Sonic, or...
Yeah, Sonic with Robotnik at the end.
Exactly, yeah. Or, hell, it could have been Link, to a degree.
With Ganon at the end, yeah. Like, it's so...
Kirby with King Dedede.
It's pretty bland in that respect, so they didn't really throw anything Super Mario-y in there.
Ha ha ha, Super Mario.
Unintentional, damn it. The way that I would see a more realistic Mario game is essentially like the same shit happens. Yeah. Peach gets stolen and everything, and like Bowser's like holding her for ransom or some shit. And then Mario has to get, like, some of the Toad police to go in with him, like a SWAT team breach.
Again, like, I know...
And, like, Mario's crawling through the sewer system to get in. Like a Rainbow Six Siege situation.
This is the conflicting shit I have, because, like, again, we're telling the story, like that's the cool stuff of the story that I think it should have gone route. Not not the tropes that they added. I'm sorry, I said the word.
You did.
But
my ears.
But you know what I mean though. Like this story uses a bunch of of those things, those but like we could have gotten like that. Like we could have gotten a game where like it was like an alpha kind of version of like a GTA Mario game, like GTA Mushroom City kind of thing. Like I feel like that would have been a really cool idea, and I think like those ideas are in this story, but the person fell into the holes, like Mikey brought up. So it's like, and again, like we say, like we do, like I could never see Mario, like a Nintendo doing this Mario, like type of Mario game, but we all love that idea, like because it's a fan thing. It's like it's not real. It's our own like it's our own like kind of fan fiction of a Mario game. Well, and I've seen
I can't see them doing what was done in this story, where Mario is just sad. Everyone hates Mario, and Mario just gives up. That's not Mario.
No.
The way that Mario has to be portrayed is as a hero, and he's always optimistic, and he's always like happy. He always knows what to do.
Yeah.
So he has to be like forward, and he's like, I'm gonna do this, and he has to succeed. But you could do that in a realistic and violent way.
Yeah.
And it would still feel like Mario. It's just like you could give Mario a fucking machine gun, and you could still have him feel like Mario as long as he's still acting like Mario.
Or even a flamethrower.
I mean, have you seen there's a video series? There is a video series on YouTube called Mario.
On the side.
There's a video series on YouTube called Mario Warfare.
I know, I watched it. It was awesome. Exactly like that.
Yeah. Or like, there's those again. Like people do videos like some visual effects people on YouTube do videos like that all the time, where like Mario falls down like through the hole in the level and ends up in like the dark world, like, and it's like zombie, like there's just corpses, like piles of Mario corpses.
Yeah, I think I know the video you're talking about. There's like a cannibalistic Luigi there or something.
I think it's like Nuka something is the person. I might leave it in the description below because it is actually a really good. Again, that would be a cool like idea for a Mario game or for like a Mario story or something like that. Mm-hmm. And like again, this is why like I don't mean to be hating on the story because it's basically presenting the same kind of fucking ideas that we are literally kitchening right now.
No, because the ideas in this story don't have anything to do with Mario, which we already talked about.
Yes.
You could replace these characters with anyone else.
They're generic game tropes.
You could replace these characters with anyone else, and it would have the exact same story that happens.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that is Super Mario-y about it.
This, yeah.
But if you inject things that are more Mario-esque about it, so the character still feels like Mario, then that could be still taken down a darker path.
Yeah.
Whether or not that would actually be put into a game or not, I don't know. Probably not.
But that's the point.
But it would still feel like a Mario game, where this one does not.
And also, like what you're saying, like I don't know if there's actually being a real. The thing is, we're trying to get here is, we have to get rid of the whole idea of like, all right, this would never happen in a Mario game. Obviously, this would never happen in a Mario game, but that's the beauty of fan fiction and creepypasta shit is that we can write that and speculate. It's speculative fiction essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So we can like come up with shit like that because we know it's never going to happen, but here's a cool fantasy version of that.
Well, but what if?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's always the what if. Like that's the kind of the charm I think of like these like the lost episode.
And I get that, and I enjoy that. But again, my point is that this doesn't feel Mario-ish.
Okay, that's
if there was more Mario injected into it, I would be more down with it. But it's so against what Mario is that it doesn't feel like it is. It should be Mario branded.
Okay. So we should probably table that for now. Like, your recommendation is no?
It's a partial recommendation.
Okay.
Because, it was kind of neat to learn about Mario 128 and stuff like that. But it's just like... And the execution of the story is very artsy and stuff. And it did display itself visually enough that I saw it.
Are you serious? Are you super serious right now?
I am super duper serious. What's there is portrayed well. The problem is it shouldn't have Mario tag to it. If it was anything else, it was just bland characters of some unknown game.
Yeah, if it was an original IP,
it would be better.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be awesome,
but it would be
because of how bad wordy it is.
Yeah, like in terms of
with the T word.
Just
my ears.
But yeah, because that's basically what it is. It's like it's not Mario. For some of us, it's not Mario enough. For some of us, it's too tropey. Like there's just a lot of issues with the story.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but it gets a light partial recommendation, like the lightest of the recommendations.
The dying breath of a recommendation.
Yeah, basically. The bubbly of a recommendation.
Oh, God. I don't know if that's a compliment or like a... Whatever.
Insult is the opposite.
Thank you. I was like, wow, my brain is... God, again, my brain has just been it's been nuked from this.
A little bit.
So, hopefully our listeners can understand what the hell I'm saying, because I'm just saying words now.
We all say words.
Yes. So I guess that's this week's episode. If you like what you did, or
I think this might be the cry for help, Mikey.
Yeah. If you like what... Really? If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. We're on iTunes, and so you can leave us a review and a rating. That would be really awesome. You can also send us messages on Twitter. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow with that W, because his name's too long.
Yeah.
And I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas you'd like us to discuss on the show. If you'd like to help support the show, you can go to Patreon, look up Al Dente Rigamortis, and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content, all that stuff. For our patrons that are already helping support the show, thank you guys immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, even the ones we really don't care for, thank you, because without your listenership, we wouldn't have much of a show, and without your stories, the good and the bad and the weird, we really wouldn't have much of a show. So, thank you. Until next time, I've been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.